Yoga Flow. I'm recording and teaching today's class from home, so I'm glad that you guys could join us today. We're going to open with a little reading from the book, A Year of Living Your Yoga. You can start today's practice resting on your back if that feels comfortable to you. Maybe your eyes are even closed. You created a little bit of space with your shoulder blades, lifting those up off the floor, kind of wiggling them out from underneath of you. Maybe your arms are resting comfortably out to the sides, or maybe hands are on the belly. You, of course, can lay nice and still, or if you want a little bit of movement here, let your knees shift side to side, whatever feels good to you as you start to come down to earth. Today's opening intention is called Practice is an Intention, Not a Location. Step on your mat today and create a practice intention with a mantra for daily living, such as, I will breathe with awareness, or I will remain present in my belly. Then carry this intention into the rest of your day. I like the mantra, I will breathe with awareness. That sounds fantastic. That's what I'm going to use today. So resting on your back, go ahead and start that breath. Start that breath to have a little bit more awareness, or maybe to keep it in your belly. And that just means that we're going to tap into some belly breaths. So belly breaths are deep, full, easy breaths that take place a little further down the spine in the belly. So resting here on the earth, give yourself that space to create breath. If your legs have been long, you might decide to go ahead and bend those. Walking the feet up the mat, let your knees bend and point up towards the ceiling. Go ahead and reach your hands up towards the sky, fingertips pointing up towards the ceiling or the sky. And just get those shoulder blades out from underneath. As you exhale, let the arms come out and open to the sides, maybe tapping elbows onto the earth in kind of a cactus shape. And then inhale, reach those hands back up. So just a little bit of easy movement to tie it with the breath. Last one. Next time the elbows tap down onto the ground, we're going to go ahead and pull those elbows so that they come right alongside the body. Elbows pressing into the earth, fingertips pointed up towards the ceiling. Walk the heels of the feet in a little closer to your glutes, and knees are about hip distance apart, or maybe even a little closer. As you inhale, lift the hips. As you exhale, let it slowly drop back down towards ground. Just a few more. So lift and lower. Keep fluid breath. Paying attention to the low back. Paying attention to your quads, your inner thighs. Let your feet make connection with the earth. You might even spread out your toes as you start to lower your hips down, and then plant the feet and lift again. One more time. This time when the hips are lifted up towards the sky, let's pause there for a moment. Maybe even drop the hands down towards the earth on either sides of your hips. Gaze is gentle and soft on the ceiling. Maybe heels lift up off the ground. And then when you're ready, lower this all back down one vertebra at a time. Once everything has hit the earth, knees will come in towards chest. Hands might even come to the tops of those kneecaps as you start to stir. Right foot plants itself down on the ground, left leg crisscrosses over. Just stay here for a moment, as if you were sitting in a chair in a crisscross, or in a cross-legged. Perfect. Switch out your feet. Opposite foot sits on the floor. Other foot comes over, crisscrosses. You're just kind of crossing right above the knee. Just a gentle cross here, just to start warming up those hips. Go back to that first side. So come back, original foot on the floor, other foot is over. This time, see if you can bring the knees in a little closer to your chest. You might rock around here a little bit. You might even grab towards the shins and apply just some gentle pressure. Of course, if that's too big of a shape, you can crisscross down here towards your ankles or crisscross across the shins and let your knees have a little freedom from one another. Perfect, drop that down. Let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Opposite foot goes on top, opposite knee rather. Maybe you hug this in, maybe you add just some gentle pressure on the outer edges of the shins. When we do this again close to the end of our practice, we'll hug those heels a little closer to us because our hips will be a little more open. This is just a nice opener. All right, uncross those knees, keep the knees hugged in towards the belly, rock around now. Feet lift high to the sky, arms reach up and overhead. Make yourself long like a capital letter L. Exhale, breath, bend the knees, arms slide down on either sides of the hips. A little bit of lower abdominals here. So just take just a couple more of those. Add some breath. When you inhale, make your body long. When you exhale, bend the knees. Hands on either side. Inhale, make the body long. Exhale, bend the knees. Last one. Hands move to the fronts of the shins, and we rock around a little bit here. Feel free to start to take yourself in whatever movement makes sense to move up towards your seat. So maybe rock and roll a little bit side to side or front and back. I'm going to turn just so I can see you a little easier. Arms reach out to the side, your spine is nice and tall. Knowing that anytime you're seated on the earth, if you need a little lift, you can take a blanket or a block and put that underneath the tip of your tail just to give you a taller spine. Hands reaching out to the sides if they haven't already. Chin lifts. Exhale, bring the chin down towards the chest. Sweep the head, easy right and left. Inhale, head comes back up over spine. Right ear moves towards right shoulder. Gentle pressure. Inhale, head comes back up over spine. Let your head fall to the other side. Gentle pressure. Inhale, head comes back up tall. Hands reaching out. Palms turn down towards the earth. And give yourself just some easy circles here. You should feel a little bit of turn in those wrists that allows you to open up the muscles down the front edges of the arms. Perfect, last time. Keeping those hands flexed, use your inhale breath to lift this all the way up overhead until those hands can stack neatly on top of one another. Little lean to the right. If it hurts the shoulders or something feels a little tight, you can have a little bend here to the left. Side body is open, hands go back to center. Exhale, break apart, slide them down. Right hand walks straight out in front of you, left hand lifts towards your ear, and then you're going to start to spin and open as you look over that left shoulder. Running into all my pretty props in the room. Unwinding from that, hand comes back up by the ear, twist, place it on the ground, opposite side up by the ear, twist, begin to look over that shoulder and plant that hand on the earth looking behind you. Inhale, lift up, take it by the ear again, back around center, and then just bring hands up to a little half T. So my palms are facing down. Inhale breath, I'm gonna open my arms out wide, palms face out. Bring it back in. Take it back out. Bring it back in. Last one, take it out. Hands flex, palms facing out to the sides. Feel that big stretch across the front edges of the arms. And then just as we did before, let these slide up, stack on top of one another, and then lean right and left. One more time, just like we did earlier in this sequence. Back to center, and then let it fall apart. Relax those shoulders. Maybe they need 1 or 2 little rolls. And then we're going to move ourselves on to hands and knees. So go ahead and make your way to that spot. If you have a blanket handy at home and you want to use that, feel free to put it on the mat underneath those knees so that they have a little extra support. I'm going to take my wrists, put them directly underneath my shoulders, knees underneath my hips, and take a couple rounds of cat-cow, belly dropping down on the inhale breath, spine lifting towards the sky on the exhale breath. Just a few more times. Last one. Beautiful. Take it back to a steady tabletop. Right hand moves underneath your face. A left hand's going to inhale and open up towards the ceiling. Exhale, slide this hand back to mat and switch sides. So you're just kind of marching those hands up and down here, adding the twist, going from one side to the other. Match it with your breath. Take your time. If you're not matching me, no worries. Last one. Get it on both sides here. Hands come to earth. And then sit back onto those hips. Heels, rather, hips sit back on heels. Take a child's pose. So child's pose, the arms are fully extended out in front of you. Your hips are sitting back towards the heels. We'll take another round of breath. Perfect. Back up to table. Find your first down dog. So hands are on the mat. Fingertips are spread nice and wide. Hips are lifted. Walk it out. All right. As you feel ready, take some small steps with your feet. Start to walk forward. Let's find our hands. You're in your first forward fold, fingertips reaching down towards the earth. Inhale, come up halfway, long spine, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the hands up. Let them go above the head. Exhale out, take cactus shape. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. Maybe a gentle bend in your knees as you fold down to protect that spine. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach up, look up, send the gaze to the ceiling. Exhale out with cactus. Last time, use your own breath, your own pace here to connect this movement with your breath. It moves in somewhat of a meditative pattern here. As you're breathing with each individual step, open out, cactus. Elbows come in front of the face. Right arm stays lifted at a 90 degree. Left arm sends itself back here and touches the left hip. We're going to see if we can pretend there's a string attached from the right elbow to the right knee. So a little bit of balance work early on. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this right elbow down as the right foot taps on the floor just right behind you, and then you're going to lift it back up. So I want you to kind of pretend you're a little puppet, and you're only working on focusing on that right side, just kind of lifting and lowering. It feels kind of awkward, it's different. We usually alternate knee and arm, but today we're trying a little bit different focus. One more time. You're noticing that your left outer hip is really having to work to stabilize you. Perfect. Let your feet come down. Big inhale, reach. Big exhale, fold. Half lift. Back down. We're going to step the right foot back to the back of the mat. Right toes on the ground, right heel is lifted. Bring yourself up. Look for crescent. Big crescent lunge. If you notice on my back foot, my heel is lifted up off the earth. I'm really still focusing on a lot of balance. Continue to look straight forward, relax those shoulders, breathe. Hold that shape. All right, I want you to exhale, breath, straighten front knee, let your arms slide down. Inhale, breath, lift up, bend front knee. Exhale, straighten. Inhale, lift. Exhale, straighten. Inhale, lift and bend. Hold there. Weight shifts back to that front foot. Hand comes down to outer edge, and we're going to see if we can take one more round, stepping that right foot forward, elbow and knee. Remember, they're a team. Pull one up, pull the other up. Hold, hold, hold. Beautiful. Place it on the earth. Just a half sun salutation. Hands lift up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. All the way lift. Cactus. Elbows move in front of the face. This time, right hand comes and looks for the right hip. Left elbow, left knee are going to work together. And lift. Holding here for a breath. And then you get to add a little more dynamic movement to it. So it steps back, it taps, and then it lifts back up. So you're going to try your best to keep a nice tall spine here. See if you can keep the crown of your head continuing to pull up every time you come back up into that full stance. There resets the spine. Just taking a few rounds. Last one. Hold it up. Beautiful. Place that foot down on the ground. Half sun salutation. Lift it up. Exhale, fold. Add a half lift. Fold back down. This time, step the left foot back. Heel stays lifted. Crescent on this side. So you got a decent bend in your front knee. Arms lift up. And we just pause here for a few moments. Drop those shoulders down. Make connection with breath. Hip flexors getting a nice big stretch here. If you're not feeling much in the hip flexors, it's probably a tilt of the pelvis can fix that. So thinking about rooting that pelvis straight down towards the ground, flat belly, lifted arms. Exhale, breath, knee bends, or straightens rather, arms drop. Inhale, lift. So the straightening doesn't have to go all the way straight. It's really more about testing a little bit of balance, getting a little deeper into that hip flexor each time you sit. Seeing what we can do with our coordination here. As I kind of wiggle and wobble all over my mat today. Last one. All right, next time you're back in that traditional crescent, drop your right hand down towards your right hip. Start thinking left elbow and left knee, they're a set. Shift that weight forward, big step, take it with you. Hold. Drop to the earth, half sun salutation. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Beautiful work. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, out, take cactus. All right, from here, we're going to reach the hands around back. Maybe they lace. Maybe they just sit comfortably on the low back. Step your feet, so wherever you are on the mat, you're going to step so that you can go wide. So again, your hands may be laced, or they might be a little more comfortable like mine are, just placed on the low back. You're going to take a big breath, lift through the center of your chest. Exhale and start to hinge down in between your legs, big forward fold. You can move back and forth between interlaced fingers and hands resting on your back, whichever you prefer. If you've had lace or hands on backs, let your hands break apart, slide gently down the backs of your legs, looking for either the earth or to kind of hang in space. Right hand might find itself positioned on a block or just resting on the ground. Left hand lifts up towards the sky. Left hand comes back down, finds position on block, switch sides. Find awareness in your breath. Use it here. Exhale, let that hand float back down, find the block. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Walk your hands towards your right foot, and then we're just gonna pivot everything. So I'm gonna turn, so now my chest faces towards that right foot. I'm gonna bend my right knee. I'm dropping my left knee down to the floor in the process and taking a nice big lunge here. If you have a set of blocks handy and you want to insert those into the practice, they of course can go right here. Sink a little deeper into that front knee. Perfect. Start to walk the blocks if you've been using them. Back towards center. Toes are going to curl under on this back foot. Knee lifts. We start to walk. And then send all of this to the other side of the mat. We're twisting on that back foot. Just as you were doing in that lifted crescent. Back knee drops to the ground. Foot is on the floor. We're paying attention to keeping the hips square. But your knee might be slightly out over your ankle. I know you can't necessarily see my mat, see my feet, but just know that your chest is square forward, the hips are sitting in towards that front knee. Nice hip opener here. This helps support our low back. Anytime we can loosen the muscles around the iliopsoas, around the groin, around the hips and the hip flexors, helps add a little therapy to that low back. Toes curl under, knee lifts up, start walking back towards the center of your mat. Big forward fold. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Turn the heels slightly inward, lift the chest. Stand tall and then sink right into a goddess shape. Inhale, breath. You're going to stand, hands go straight up. Exhale, breath, sit right back down. Sink and hold. Inhale, breath. Right hand stretches over. Left hand reaches behind you. Exhale, sit. Opposite hand reaches over and then sit. So adding a little twist. Last one. Hold. Stay in that space. Inhale, stand strong, hands come down, and then heel toe the feet back underneath of you. Take a big step all the way to the front of your mat. Stand tall. Hands reach up. Exhale, hinge and fold. Halfway up. Back down, feet step to the back of the mat. Put yourself in a high plank pose. Shoulders and wrists in a straight line, feet pointing back towards the back of your mat, about hip distance apart. Belly is engaged as we pull slightly up between the shoulder blades, engaging that core by cinching in the belly. One more breath. Feel a little shake. Knees drop to ground, gentle vinyasa of choice. I'm going to do just a cobra. Easing your way back to hands and knees, or back to plank, and then downward facing dog. Right foot lifts nice and high to the sky, three-legged dog. Right knee moves forward towards your right wrist and hold. Send it back up, 2 more. Right knee towards right wrist, hold. Back up, last one. Hold, drop the knee right behind the wrist. Look for traditional pigeon pose. So now our hips are square to the front of the mat. My back foot finds its way onto the earth along with that back knee. The leg is nice and long. My hips are square to the front, and I'm going to stay here for a few breaths. You can be nice and tall. You can add in props like a set of blocks, a bolster, a blanket. Or you can start to lean into those front elbows and let the chest drop down towards earth. One of the unfortunate things about me not having a live camera crew is that you either get my arms and my whole body when I do standing poses, but half of me is missing when I'm on the floor, or we nearly chop off my head and my arms when I'm standing, and you can get everything on the floor. It's like I need to be able to push a button and drop my camera down. Maybe someday. All right, friends, walk the chest back up off the earth if it's been settled there. Curl the toes under, find the awareness in your space. Decide how you're going to get yourself back to down dog. Is it going to be hands and knees first, or are you going to do a big lift? Are you going to stick a vinyasa in here because you're feeling strong and mighty? Or are you just going to get to that down dog and breathe? You make the choice. Left foot lifts. You've got 3 of those hovering planks here. Knee comes forward, hover, send it back up. 2 more. Engage that core, cinch it in. Hold, and then let it rest. Hips square, just like we did on the other side. We've got this foot, it goes long, knee walks back slowly, hips are square. Take your time, maybe you take a breath or 2 up high like this. Or maybe you're ready to go ahead and add props, or go ahead and rock the chest down towards the earth. Your choice. Start using that breath to slowly bring your chest up off the floor. Decide what your next step's going to be to get you back to that down dog. Are you going to move the hands and knees? Are you going to curl the toes under and take a big lift up to that dog? From your dog, go ahead and shift to a plank. Exhale. Back to your dog. That's your inhale. We're just going to pivot here for a few breaths. Of course, if this is too much, knees can always drop, and you can move back and forth between a plank on your knees and a child's pose. But whatever you do, bring awareness to that breath. Make those 2 postures connected. Make a breath match each phase. Find the strength hidden in little corners of your body. It's there, ignite it. Tell it feels good to work hard, and it feels good to feel strong. to be present and empowered in our own physical bodies. Last one at your own pace. Get yourself back to that down dog shape. And then let knees settle into the earth, elbows drop to ground, hands make prayer, tuck them behind the head. A child's pose with hands back behind the head. We'll stay in this shape for one more round of breath. Using your next natural inhale, taking your time, come up from that shape. You'll be on hands and knees, and we're just going to allow the right foot one more big step between the hands. You have option. You can have left hand stay on the floor or on a block. Right hand's gonna reach back. Now you can just stay right here. It can rest on the low back, it can kind of hang in space. Or you might choose to bend this back knee and reach back for that foot. So whatever knee is bent at the front of your mat, that's the same arm that's reaching backwards. Perfect. Come off of that. Give this a little bit of space. Maybe you roll back. Toes come up towards face. And then we're just going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So if after doing one side you wished you would have had a blanket, sorry I didn't cue that, you can reach for it, put it back underneath this knee. Find that same low lunge. Whatever knee is bent, that's the hand that's going to reach around back. Maybe it makes connection with this foot. Maybe it doesn't. Remember, the hand can always just rest on your low back. You kind of just reach in space. We don't always have to take the biggest version of everything I offer. That is not the point, remember. The practice is about the journey, not the destination. So it's okay if we're not always in the biggest shapes we can find. Start to lift those toes back up. Get yourself in a more relaxed state just to kind of unwind from that shape. And then from here, just pull this knee back underneath of you. We can sit back onto heels if kind of a modified hero works for you. You can take a breath or two just to work a little bit of movement out of the neck. Of course, if you'd rather just be in more of a traditional crisscross and not in this hero modification, feel free. All right, when you feel ready, we'll get ourselves onto a full seat. Legs will extend long out in front. Maybe take a moment to walk the sits bones out from underneath of you. Big forward fold, reaching arms up, hinging at the hip creases, pulling back as we extend forward. Finding whatever version works best for you at home today. Chest comes back up, knees bend. Take your time to bring hands back by hips. Toes are going to lift up off the earth just for a moment in your boat. Hands can always come to around back. Extend long. Cinch in those middle obliques, middle core muscles. Perfect, feet settle down. Hips move to about the center of the mat. If you have a block handy, you might want to take it with you as you start to roll back onto your back. Knees into chest. Reach for that block, hips drop down, lift. Slide the block underneath. If you have one, a blanket or a pillow works fine as well. Feet lift up to the sky, and we'll give ourselves just a little bit of chance here to invert. Start to realize the stillness that can be found in simple breathing, the quiet that we can tap into as we rest on our backs. Of course, if straight, long legs doesn't really work for you, and you'd like to add a little bend in your knee, feel free. Taking your time, we'll slowly start to bring feet maybe down to earth. Of course, you could stay there if that's really feeling nice to you. But maybe you take a reverse locust. So you've got that block or pillow or blanket underneath of you. Maybe you take one leg at a time and let it go long down the mat. Those hip flexors, a little more space. If your room allows, your space allows, you might stretch arms high up over your head, toes point away. Giving yourself a nice long body opener, long body stretch. Of course, if space doesn't allow, arms might make cactus or have a diamond shape above your head. If you have the ability to quiet your music or turn it down, turn the genre to something more relaxing, maybe turn off even some lights, especially if you have anything on overhead. Use these final few moments just to explore a few poses that might feel good to you. Removing the block might be a smart option. If you've got 2 blocks handy, you might take your feet, let them connect, knees fall out and open, placing blocks right along the outer edges of those knees just to kind of catch. And then you might bring awareness to your belly again. You might take those breaths a little fuller, a little deeper down the spine. This is the part of the practice where we start to craft our thank you note. The thank you note to our physical body for allowing us to move so freely here on our mats. The thank you note to our minds for allowing us this space to quiet the external noise, the uncertainty, the anxieties of our external world. The thank you note to allow us this space and time to be right here, present in our own physical bodies, for us to continue to practice yoga, to realize and learn that each day our bodies are different and they require different things. Sometimes they want to move, sometimes they need to rest, sometimes they want something in between. We honor our bodies, we listen and feed them, not only physical movement, but this much needed quiet and rest. I invite you to use the remainder of today's practice just to be still. Find a pose that works for you, whether it's long legs or bent knees, or resting on either your right or left side. Let this time be yours. Seek the quiet. slowly starting to become aware of your breath. Allowing gentle movements back into the body. Just take your time. They can just be wiggling of fingers or toes. Maybe bending the knees and bringing them into the body, rocking side to side. Maybe ultimately finding a side-lying savasana for just a few breaths. Working our way back to seat as you feel ready. We'll close the practice very similar to how we began. Maybe reconnecting with that opening intention. As we move through the rest of the day, reminding ourselves that we can breathe with awareness. As our heart starts to race, as our anxieties start to lift naturally with our external world, remind yourself how breathing with awareness can help us better connect to that quiet internal voice, better connect with ourselves. Thank you again for choosing time to practice with yoga. Do it alongside me, alongside others here in the SIFT community. I appreciate you. Thank you again. Namaste.